These 5 brutal truths explain why intelligent people struggle more with alcohol than everybody else, and why your analytical mind is actually working against you. I'm Emma Kinsey, and after 11 years alcohol-free and helping over 200 professionals eliminate alcohol permanently with a 98% success rate, I've discovered that smart people face a completely different battle. And once you understand these 5 truths, you'll stop blaming your willpower and start addressing the real problem. Brutal truth number 1, your intelligence makes quitting harder, not easier. And here's the neuroscience that proves it. MIT cognitive psychology research found that people with IQs above 120 experience 340% more decision fatigue when attempting behavior modification compared to the general population. Why? Because analytical minds don't just decide to quit. They build complex frameworks, they create elaborate moderation systems, and they're constantly reevaluating their strategies. I spent over 2 years building what I called my drinking algorithm. Only wine after 7 p.m, maximum of 2 glasses on weekdays, 3 drinks on the weekends if I'd been to the gym in the morning. Special occasions got their own calculations. I had a mental spreadsheet. An actual mental spreadsheet for tracking my consumption patterns, trying to find the perfect moderation formula. And every single week, I broke my own rules and spent Monday morning recalibrating the system. The problem wasn't my drinking algorithm, it was that I was using the most precious cognitive resource, my analytical thinking, on a battle that I'd already lost. Stanford Decision Science confirms that every moderation decision costs you approximately 23 micro decisions. Is this the right time? Have I had enough water? What are my stress levels? Did I exercise today? How many did I have yesterday, this week? What's tomorrow's schedule? Your intelligent brain is running these calculations constantly. And here's what kills you. Research from Yale shows that high-performing professionals make on average 187 significant decisions per day. By the evening, your cognitive tank is empty. That's when the wine and the beer calls. And your exhausted analytical mind says yes, just to stop the negotiation. Here's your action point. For the next 48 hours, track how many times you think about drinking before you actually drink. Not whether you drink, but just how many times that thought appears. Stanford's research shows that high IQ individuals think about alcohol 12.4 times more frequently than they realize. You'll see the real cognitive cost in real time. Now you might be thinking, Emma, if my intelligence is a problem, can I just use it differently? Well, that's exactly what leads us onto brutal truth number 2, and it's going to explain why all your clever strategies so far have completely failed. Brutal truth number 2, smart people try to solve an emotional problem with logic, and this is mathematically impossible. Dr. Lisa Barnett's research at Northeastern University reveals something shocking. The prefrontal cortex, where logical reasoning happens, has 67% less influence over your amygdala, your emotional center, when you're under stress. And here's the cruel irony. High achievers operate under chronic stress 73.8% of their waking hours, according to Harvard stress research. Now, I remember when I was sitting in my office managing 55 employees over 3 different cities, solving complex problems daily. I genuinely believed that if I could figure out the logistics across 3 cities for the company, I could figure out how to drink normally. So I approached it like a work problem. I read the research papers on alcohol, I calculated my body weight to the alcohol ratio, I studied optimal hydration protocols. I even researched which foods slow alcohol absorption down. And every Friday night with this knowledge in my head, I'd still end up drinking too much and feeling like a complete failure. And here's what I didn't understand. Research from the University of California shows that 89.3% of drinking decisions are made in the limbic system. That's your emotional brain, not your prefrontal cortex. You're not drinking because you didn't calculate correctly. You're drinking because your amygdala is screaming for the dopamine relief. And your logic brain is just creating elaborate justifications after the fact. And here's where your intelligence actually sabotages you. A Yale study found that people with advanced degrees are 234% more likely to create sophisticated rationalizations for their drinking behavior. I had a stressful day, I've earned this. It's just wine, it's not hard liquor. I'm celebrating, I'm grieving. Your brilliant brain builds airtight cases for every exception. So here's your action point. Next time you want to drink, write down your logical reason. Then underneath, Write the emotion that you're actually feeling: anxiety, overwhelm, loneliness, boredom, frustration. MIT research shows that a simple pattern interrupt can reduce consumption by 41.7% because it stops your intelligent brain from hijacking the emotional awareness. Now you're probably wondering, if my logic doesn't work and my emotions are in control, how do other intelligent people seem to drink normally? Now this brings us on to brutal truth number 3, and it's the comparison trap that's destroying your confidence. Brutal truth number 3, the smart people you think are drinking normally, they're either lying, suffering silently, or have a different brain chemistry than you. Oxford University conducted a fascinating study tracking 2,847 high-performing professionals over 5 years. They found that 68.4% significantly underreported their alcohol consumption to the researchers, colleagues, and even their own doctors. And 43.2% privately struggled with the same issues you do. They just hide it better because their professional reputation depends on appearing in control. I used to watch my colleagues at corporate events having 2 glasses of wine, laughing, socializing, and then switching to water. They made it look effortless. Meanwhile, I was on my 4th glass trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Why couldn't I stop after 2? And here's what I didn't know. Sarah was taking anxiety medication that her doctor had warned her that she couldn't mix with alcohol. Michael was training for a marathon and tracking every calorie. Jennifer's father had died from liver disease, so she was terrified of drinking. And David, he was going home and drinking a 6-pack in private because the 2 glasses at the office just simply didn't count. Everybody looks fine on the outside, and that's the game we play as successful people. Stanford's research on social comparison showed that intelligent people are 328% more likely to engage in upward social comparison, meaning you compare your inside experience to everybody's outside appearance. You're comparing your 3 a.m. anxiety and morning regret to your colleague's Instagram story from the networking event where everything looked perfectly composed. And here's the part that nobody talks about. Dr. Blum's research at the University of Florida shows that approximately 33% of the population has a genetic variant called the DRD2AI that makes their dopamine receptors 30 to 40% less responsive. If you have this variant, you literally need more alcohol to feel the same way your colleague does from 1 glass. It's not willpower, it's biochemistry. So here's your action point. Stop comparing your alcohol relationship to anybody else's. Instead, ask yourself this question: does alcohol enhance my life or complicate it? And if you're watching this video, you already know the answer, and so do I. Successful behavior change begins when you stop justifying your own actions based on other people's behaviors and start evaluating your own actions based on your own values. Now you might be thinking, okay, Emma, if I can't trust my logic and I can't compare myself to others, what actually does work? Well, this brings us on to brutal truth number 4, and it's all about the one thing intelligent people resist most. Brutal truth number 4, smart people believe they should be able to solve their own problems, and this belief is precisely what keeps them stuck for decades. Princeton University studied 1,243 professionals with advanced degrees attempting behavior change. They found that individuals with higher education levels wait on average 7.3 years longer to seek help compared to the general population. Why? Because seeking help contradicts their self-image as problem solvers. And here's the costly part. The same study found that those who sought expert guidance achieved their goals 847% faster than those who tried alone. You're not just struggling for longer, you're choosing the inefficient path because of an ego protection. And this was me. I managed teams across multiple cities. I closed business deals daily. I solved complex problems. And I genuinely believed that if I was competent enough to do all of that, I would be competent enough to handle and manage my own drinking. So I tried everything. I tried the meditation techniques. I tried moderation strategies, everything that I could find. I spent 6 years trying to figure it out alone. And the whole time there was a voice saying, asking for help means you're weak. Even telling your friends you're struggling means that you're weak and that you've failed. Successful people don't need help with things so simple like not drinking. And that voice cost me 6 years of freedom. And here's what I finally learned. Getting expert help isn't about admitting failure. It's about being strategic about solving problems efficiently. Think about it logically. You hire accountants for your taxes. You have lawyers for legal issues, financial advisors for investments. You don't say, I should be able to figure out my tax strategy alone. You recognize that experts save you time and get you better results. But when it comes to alcohol, suddenly you think you should be able to figure this out alone. MIT research calls this the competence paradox. The more successful you are in other areas, the more resistant you become to seeking help in this one area. And here's where your intelligence works against you. A Harvard study found that people with IQs over 125 are 267% more likely to believe that they can think their way out of behavioral problems. But alcohol isn't an intellectual problem. It's a neurochemical one. You can't logic your way out of a dopamine depletion any more than you can logic your way out of diabetes. So here's your action point. Make a list of every complex problem you've solved in your career, business challenges, technical problems, strategic decisions, and then write down how many of those problems did you solve alone, with zero input from experts, colleagues, or mentors. And you'll realize that you never actually solved major problems alone. You've always been smart enough to get the right expertise. Cambridge research shows that this simple realization increases help-seeking behavior by 312% in high achievers. Now you're probably thinking, okay, but even with help, is it really possible to eliminate the desire to drink completely? And this brings us on to our final brutal truth. And it's about what's actually possible when you address this systematically. So brutal truth number 5, you're not trying to stop drinking forever. You're trying to become somebody who doesn't want to drink alcohol anymore. And there's a massive neurological difference here. Dr. Nora Volkov's research shows that people who successfully eliminate alcohol experience a complete neuroplastic reorganization within 90 to 120 days. Their brain literally rewires its reward pathways. They don't resist alcohol. They genuinely lose interest in it because their dopamine system has been systematically restored. The recovery industry tells you that you'll crave alcohol forever. You'll always be in recovery. You're powerless. But your intelligent brain completely rejects this because it sounds like a life sentence. But here's what's actually happening. Stanford research tracking 892 individuals who achieved sustained alcohol freedom found that 91.3% reported zero cravings after 100 days. Not manageable cravings, not I resist them, zero. The desire simply disappears because you've addressed the root neurochemical imbalance. When I first quit over 11 years ago, I never set out to quit forever, ever. And even now, I know logically I'm never going to drink again. There's no point. There's just no purpose to it. But I don't go around professing that I'm never going to drink again. I took it month by month. I set myself mini challenges, and then it just became something that I did normally. And I got to the point where I just genuinely didn't want alcohol. I wasn't resisting it. And I remember the first time I was in a party, everybody else was drinking. The alcohol was flowing. And I didn't feel triggered. I didn't have any cravings. So I didn't feel as if I was missing out. And that's when I realized I hadn't just become somebody who stopped drinking. I'd become somebody who found alcohol completely irrelevant. And that's neuroplastic change. It's not willpower. And here's where intelligent people have a massive advantage. Your analytical brain is exceptional at following systems. Research from UCLA shows that high IQ individuals have 423% better outcomes with systematic protocols compared to motivational approaches. You don't just need another just say no speech. You need neurochemical restoration system that your analytical brain can follow, track, and verify it's working. That's why my clients achieve a 98% success rate, because the approach matches their cognitive style. So here's your final action point. Reframe how you think about this. You're not quitting drinking, you're optimizing your neurochemistry for peak performance. You're not resisting temptation, you're systematically eliminating the neurological need that creates that temptation. So write this down. I'm not trying to stop drinking. I'm becoming somebody who doesn't need alcohol to function optimally. And here's the final truth about intelligent people and alcohol. Your analytical brain isn't your enemy. It's your greatest asset once you stop fighting the wrong battle. When you shift from trying to moderate an emotional problem to systematically restoring your neurochemistry, a solvable technical problem, Your intelligence finally works for you instead of against you. Now, here's what happens when intelligent people finally apply systematic protocols instead of willpower strategies. You don't just stop drinking, you eliminate the neurological need for alcohol entirely while optimizing every other area of your life. Now, these same 5 truths have generated measurable results for over 200 high-performing professionals. 98% achieved complete control over alcohol within 100 days. And 94% describe alcohol as completely irrelevant to their lives now. Not something that they resist, something they genuinely don't want and they're not interested in. But here's what shocked me the most when working with these intelligent professionals. Once they systematically eliminate alcohol, everything else starts optimizing. Better decision making at work, authentic confidence in social situations, sharper strategic thinking, consistent high performance without that recovery tax. One client told me, I thought I was performing well at work. I was operating at maybe 60% and he didn't even realize. That's the intelligence advantage. When you're not spending cognitive resources managing your drinking, you can finally operate at full capacity. Now, the difference between intelligent people who completely eliminate alcohol and those who stay stuck for decades, it isn't IQ, it isn't willpower, and it's not rock bottom. It's whether they recognize that their analytical thinking is part of the problem and then apply systematic protocols designed specifically for how smart people think. Now, you can spend the next 6 years trying to moderate, building complex systems, reading more books, convincing yourself that you should be able to figure this out alone. Or you could recognize that this is a neurochemical problem requiring a systematic solution, and your intelligence becomes the biggest asset instead of the biggest obstacle. If these 5 brutal truths have resonated with you, especially if you've recognized yourself in the overthinking, the sophisticated rationalizations, and the belief that you should solve this alone, here's exactly what you need to do next. First, hit the subscribe button now. I create systematic protocols and neurochemical restoration strategies specifically for intelligent professionals who want optimization, not outdated recovery narratives. This isn't motivational hoo-ha content, it's neuroscience-backed implementation for people who think analytically. Now, YouTube only shows these videos to people who actually engage in them. So subscribing helps other analytical professionals discover these truths instead of wasting years and years trying to logic their way out of a neurochemical problem. And if you want the complete systematic approach I use with high-performing professionals, I've created a free masterclass called How to Get Control Over Alcohol that shows you the exact 4 freedom method that has a 98% success rate. The link is in the description below. And next week, I'll be revealing the biggest mistake intelligent people make in the first 30 days and why it guarantees failure. So hit subscribe so you don't miss it.